The eerie event happened to a person who sought to obtain items from the forest for a ritual aimed at acquiring dark magic and black sorcery to enhance charm and attraction. However, it was this very act of taking things from the forest that led him to encounter a series of terrifying experiences, events so haunting that he could never forget them. This story is called The Demon Parasite. Before we dive into our scary story, we would like to ask everyone to like and subscribe to support us in continuing to bring you more terrifying tales in the future. This is a story about a woman named PLE. PLE worked at a logging camp tasked with cutting down trees under a concession agreement. The purpose of cutting the trees at various points was to build a road that cut through the forest. PLE's camp had many workers, including both young people and those who had been working for decades. One of them was Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam had been working there for a long time, and having spent most of his life immersed in the forest, he often shared stories with the younger workers at the camp. Many of his tales involved magic spells he knew or amulets he carried. One of the stories he told was about the parasite. Uncle Sam explained that a parasite obtained from the deep forest and used in a ritual could bestow the possessor with the power to be loved and admired by others, bring great wealth, and ensure success in trade. When the young workers heard this, they became eager to possess such an item. Uncle Sam told them that if they truly wanted one, they would have to enter the forest at night. The trick to obtaining the parasite, he said, was this. If you found one and were about to cut it from its host, you must turn off your flashlight first. If you could cut it while in the dark, it would be yours. However, most people who attempted this would find that as soon as they turned off the flashlight and tried to feel for the parasite, it was no longer there. If this happened, it meant that the guardian spirits of the forest refused to grant it to them. Despite this, groups of young workers, driven by desire, ventured into the forest. Among them was Charlie and several other workers. Time after time, no one succeeded in obtaining a parasite. Each night, they would split up to search, then meet back at a designated spot and return together. Some searched in pairs. Many reported seeing the parasite but encountered the same strange phenomenon. When they turned off their flashlight to cut it, it would disappear. When Uncle Sam heard these stories, he would laugh and reiterate that the spirits of the forest were not willing to give it up. For 2 months, the young workers kept searching for the parasite. Eventually, many grew discouraged and stopped going into the forest. But one day, Charlie decided to search on his own, without telling anyone. For nearly a week, he went in and out of the forest alone. Finally, Charlie returned to camp with a parasite and proudly showed it off to everyone. When Uncle Sam saw it, he told Charlie to hang the parasite out to dry for 7 days and 7 nights until its stalk dried completely. Only then would Uncle Sam perform the ritual. Charlie took a small bamboo tray, hung it on a tree, and placed the parasite on it to dry. On the first night after Charlie brought the parasite back, strange things began to happen. That night, while everyone at the construction camp was asleep, they heard a loud animal cry from the forest. PLE described it as sounding like a monkey or gibbon, which was not unusual for the area. However, what was strange was that after the cry came from the forest, the same sound echoed back from within the camp itself. PLE tried to rationalize it, thinking perhaps another animal had wandered into the camp in search of food, so she paid it no further attention. The following morning, Uncle Sam came to see PLE and Tammy, who was Charlie's girlfriend. PLE asked what was going on, and Tammy said that Charlie had been acting strangely. The previous evening, when Tammy brought Charlie his meal, she found him standing under the tree where the parasite was drying. He was staring at the parasite and appeared to be speaking to someone, though no one else was there. Tammy said it seemed as if Charlie was having a conversation. PLE dismissed it, saying Charlie was probably just eager for the parasite to dry quickly. However, Uncle Sam remarked that it was odd. He mentioned the strange animal cries from the previous night and the way they were echoed back from the camp. "What kind of animal was it?" he asked. "Our camp doesn't have any animals." PLE speculated that the sound might have come from the forest behind the camp, and because of the echo, it seemed as though it came from within. She assured him there was probably nothing unusual about it. The day passed without further incident. On the third night, Tammy came to PLE again, looking visibly distressed. She told PLE that she had just gone to bring Charlie his dinner before he left for work. When she opened the door to his cabin, she found Charlie sitting on the floor, hugging his knees and rocking back and forth while muttering something incomprehensible. Tammy tried calling out to him, but Charlie didn't respond or even look at her. Frightened, she didn't dare go inside and instead came to fetch PLE. When PLE arrived, she found Charlie in exactly the same state. PLE called out to him and tried to snap him out of it, but he remained unresponsive. She decided they needed Uncle Sam's help, but he had gone into the forest and wouldn't be back until late. Tammy, worried sick about Charlie, wandered around the camp anxiously, waiting for Uncle Sam's return. Other workers tried to reassure Tammy, saying Charlie was probably just sick and would be fine after some rest. They pointed out that he had fallen asleep. That night, when Uncle Sam finally returned, it was close to midnight, and the incident seemed to be forgotten as everyone went to bed. Before PLE could fall asleep, an older worker from the camp came knocking on her door, looking alarmed. PLE asked him what was wrong, and he explained that he had been heading to bathe when he heard animal cries coming from the forest again. This time, the cries were answered by something within the camp. Curious, he followed the sound and came upon a tree. The closer he got, the clearer he could see something perched in the branches. At first, he thought it was a child around 4 or 5 years old sitting in the tree. He shone his flashlight on it, but with the low battery, the light wasn't very bright. As soon as the light hit the figure, it flipped upside down, hanging by its legs. Its eyes glowed red in the reflection of the light. Terrified, the worker ran to PLE to tell her what he had seen. PLE was frightened too, but went to wake Uncle Sam. She explained that no one in the camp could sleep because of the strange occurrences. However, since there were no sounds in the camp at that moment, Uncle Sam suggested they wait until morning to investigate thoroughly. The following night, everyone gathered together: PLE, Uncle Sam, Tammy, and 3 other workers. They turned off all the lights in the camp and stood by the entrance, waiting for the animal cries to begin again. After a while, they heard the now familiar sound from the forest. Moments later, the sound was echoed from under a tree in the camp. Uncle Sam immediately shone his flashlight toward the tree. It was the same tree where Charlie had hung the parasite to dry. This time, what they saw in the tree wasn't just one figure. Everyone present could clearly make out two figures silhouetted against the branches. One appeared to be an adult, and the other resembled a child. Without hesitation, Uncle Sam ran toward the tree to get a closer look at what was there. PLE, scared but determined, ran after him with Tammy following close behind. The two male workers, however, were too frightened and fled back to the camp instead. As soon as PLE arrived, she found Uncle Sam already standing there, flashlight aimed at the tree. The sight that greeted them was even more shocking. There was now only one figure on the tree, the adult figure. It wasn't an animal, but Charlie. His appearance was ghastly, emaciated, his skin clinging to his bones as though he hadn't eaten in days. Just then, the sound of an animal crying out from the forest broke the silence. To everyone's horror, Charlie began to respond. Slowly, he arched his neck and let out an animalistic cry that mimicked the sound from the forest. When Tammy saw this, she screamed in terror and fainted. Workers nearby, alarmed by Tammy's scream, rushed over to help her. In that moment, Charlie dangled upside down from the branch, using his legs to hang on. He pointed at everyone in the camp and growled menacingly, "Don't meddle! Don't meddle!" His voice was followed by a raspy, threatening snarl, reminiscent of an angry monkey. Uncle Sam quickly performed some sort of ritual, chanting prayers for a while before striking Charlie across the face. The blow caused Charlie to fall from the tree, and everyone rushed to help him. Uncle Sam instructed that Charlie be taken to rest in the workers' camp and tied up for safety. "We need to wait for him to regain consciousness," he said, "and ask him exactly how he got that parasite. If we don't understand the full story, we can't help him." The next day, everyone went about their work as usual but reconvened at Charlie's camp after work. Uncle Sam was already there, so PLE asked him if he had figured anything out. Uncle Sam explained that Charlie had obtained the parasite incorrectly, which had angered its owner, who was now trying to reclaim it. Apparently, the parasite Charlie had taken was a child parasite, and its mother, deep in the forest, had been calling for it. The child parasite had been responding but was unable to return because Charlie had kept it with him. The mother had already tried to reclaim it once, but Charlie, driven by greed, refused to give it back. Uncle Sam revealed that Charlie had even lied to him once, claiming he felt as though something was following him and asking for protective charms. Uncle Sam had given Charlie a gold sheet and a talisman to ward off harm. Charlie, however, had used these items to bind the parasite, preventing it from being taken back. This angered the mother parasite, leading her to try to harm Charlie in retaliation. Paul then asked Charlie directly, "How did you get this parasite?" Charlie confessed that the night he found it, he had broken traditional rules. Normally, one would shine a light on the tree before cutting the parasite, but Charlie, afraid the parasite might fall off the tree if the light was turned off, hammered a nail into it to secure it in place. Afterward, he turned off the light and cut the parasite. He admitted that if one looked closely, the parasite indeed had nail marks. What was even stranger, Charlie added, was that the nail marks oozed a red sap, which was highly unusual. Tree sap is typically white or black, but the red sap only occurs in parasites growing on rosewood trees, Pterocarpus. However, there were no rosewood trees in the forest where Charlie had found the parasite. Pelly asked Uncle Sam, "What should we do now?" Uncle Sam replied, "We have to return the parasite to the forest. I can't guarantee Charlie's safety, but there's no other way. I'll take it back to the forest myself tonight. No one else in the camp should leave under any circumstances." Uncle Sam then went to Charlie and asked if he could remember the exact spot where he had found the parasite. Charlie claimed he couldn't recall and said he had just wandered deeper into the forest until he stumbled upon it. Uncle Sam reassured him, saying, "That's fine. I'll follow the animal cries and find the place myself." With that, Uncle Sam headed into the forest. While Uncle Sam was in the forest for nearly 2 hours, the previously quiet woods were suddenly pierced by the same animal cries as before, this time louder and more intense. As soon as everyone in the camp heard the sound, Charlie's door flung open, and he shouted, "Give me back what's mine! Give me back what's mine!" Without warning, he bolted into the forest. The camp workers, shocked by Charlie's sudden outburst, quickly chased after him. However, as Charlie ran into the forest, just a short distance ahead of them, an unidentified animal darted across their path, cutting them off and causing them to lose sight of Charlie. Despite their efforts to search for him, they couldn't find him. Ultimately, they decided to return to the camp, remembering Uncle Sam's warning not to leave. There was nothing more they could do except wait for Uncle Sam to return. Tammy, overcome with fear and worry for Charlie, sat crying. Close to midnight, Uncle Sam finally returned. Tully immediately asked, "Did you return it?" Uncle Sam confirmed that he had returned the parasite. "And what about Charlie?" PLE recounted what had happened, how Charlie had run into the forest. Hearing this, Uncle Sam sighed deeply and said, "He's likely not going to make it. We'll go look for him tomorrow. Searching now won't help." That night, everyone reluctantly went to bed, though few could sleep. The following morning, they split up to search for Charlie, spreading out through the forest. Not long into their search, one of the workers shouted, "Found him! Found him!" Everyone rushed over to the spot. What they saw was chilling. Charlie was on a large tree, sprawled across a branch nearly 3 meters above the ground. His body was contorted, with his hands clawed as though he had desperately tried to climb higher. His nails were torn and he was already dead. The group carefully retrieved Charlie's body from the tree and brought it back to the camp. Initially, they planned to transport his body out of the camp that day. However, the camp's vehicle was unavailable, so they had to keep the body there overnight. To preserve it, they poured oil into his mouth to prevent decomposition, planning to take him out the next day. That night, few in the camp could sleep, as they were haunted by the sound of Charlie's voice echoing through the forest, crying, "Give me back what's mine! Give me back what's mine!" His cries reverberated through the woods, relentless and eerie. Tully, unable to bear it any longer, knocked on Uncle Sam's door. Uncle Sam admitted there was nothing he could do, explaining, "Charlie's spirit is still trapped here. He doesn't realize he's dead. The forest's guardian hasn't imprisoned his soul. It's his own greed keeping him tethered. Even in death, he still desires that thing. But if we perform the proper rituals, everything should return to normal." The next day, Charlie's relatives came to collect his body, and they performed the necessary rituals. However, even after his body was taken away, the camp workers continued to occasionally hear Charlie's voice calling from the forest, though it grew less frequent over time. Gradually, life at the camp returned to normal, and this was the story PLE shared. Before we part ways today, don't forget to like and follow to support us in sharing more spine-chilling stories. And if you're someone who enjoys consuming haunting tales and eerie experiences, let us be part of bringing those thrills to you.